Hello, today is August 9th, 2025. The subject from the Mentalsomatic Cycle is Interaction Neophilia-Cosmovision. The subject is to honor, and it opens the ICCC week. The official week starts at August 15, but we are bringing here now in order to debate and to interconnect with the entire work they are doing. We are going to have at the same time an online transmission. We are translating in English, Neophilia-Cosmovision interactions. So those who wanna watch online broadcasts YouTube, there is a group doing the simultaneous interpretation. So I'm gonna bring the summary that we prepared, highlighting a few subjects. Before that, let me see that there are many people from international. Good morning, buongiorno, bonjour. I'm gonna try in other language. Guten Morgen, German, and buenos dias. And in Portuguese is bom dia. Spanish is buenos dias. Okay, good. João Paulo said that my Spanish is from Paraguay, but it's not enough. So I want to highlight here, there are a few phrases from the 700 experiments. We brought the Neophilia-Cosmovision interaction test. I want to highlight the paragraph that talks about the experience. Every new experience adds itself to the constant and inevitable accumulation of the consciousness, evolutionary possibilities. The union of resources cause the intensification of conscience, talents, potential, inventiveness, hyperacuity, and the conscientiocentric entrepreneurs. Instructor Valdo Vieira brought 6 examples. He called 6 prophecies from people that used to say, oh, something very bad is going to happen. For example, a book. When Johannes Gutenberg made the book more accessible, some claimed it declared the end of all kinds of schools. And he brings a few examples, and sometimes we think this list is too far beyond from the things we are debating here in conscientiology, because we have this neophilia, we are with our open mind. But I remember a few situations in our institution here in which we kind of start a movement of trying something new, and then we have a sort of a resistance. I remember when the CEAEC auditorium was built, and then we end up we had a few confusion, and then now we have decided, and we have space that everybody can build auditorium. So this is just one example. Sometimes we look, we listen, and think that is far beyond our reality, but eventually in our context, in our zeitgeist, it is still happening. So it's good to reflect. And from the argument dictionary, Dictionary of Conscientiology arguments, so I want to highlight the openology. So we are going to talk, we are going to interconnect with Isaac Wick, and I want to highlight the first paragraph that says, consciential openness means a conscient expressing their best cosmoethicity in their interexistential exchanges with humanity. So it's interesting to analyze this paragraph with cosmovision. So he thinks, where is the pensata? Where is the article? Where is the verbet? Where is the book? Where is the masterpiece? Where is the mega gescon? So we are highlighting here the conscientiological openness. So we need to analyze with this and develop this cosmophysiological view. So we are doing this movement of interconnecting with the international, but nevertheless, we want to see your results. Where are the books? Where are the pensatas? So we are talking about the interassistential distribution for the humanity. So here in the paragraph from Argumentarium, I want to highlight that Instructor Vieira said, liberophiliology is about enjoying things to be open, about the consciousness with consciential openness, about neophilia, in order to seek freedom for oneself, but also about advocating freedom for others so that the mutually of cosmoethical coexistence can occur. And then there are a few verbs from the Encyclopedia of Conscientiology. We have the verbet human cosmovision. There is another about cosmovision proper. It's worth it to check. And from the lexicon of ortho pensatas, I want to highlight the eighth one, which is the consciexis, closest to achieving the self-experience of cosmovision, is the one invited to participate in the intermissive course. So as we are here representing the intermissivists, we are the personalities that are closer to achieve good levels of cosmovision. We are working for that. In order to start to debate today, I will launch a first question in order to understand this correlation between the interaction Neophilia-Cosmovision and what's the relationship with this concept with ICCC that is going to talk about universalism and open mind. So about your experience, what characterizes, what are the first variables that illustrated the existence of this interaction between the neophilia and the cosmovision? In other words, I'm going to analyze what people do on a regular basis, how I know I have this interaction, I can perceive this interaction happening. How I know I can see a cosmovision, I can perceive a cosmovision from the pragmatical point of view. So Virginia, you can start. Good morning all. Thank you for the opportunity in order to debate those subjects in this circle. Thank you for the interpretation in English. I think that one of the variables might be people being open, having this posture of embracing things that are open, not close. Because sometimes we think it's not possible, this is not, this is very difficult. And sometimes this posture of being open, reflect and think, well, that might be being more flexible. Let the new embrace you. One of the things that my favorite is being available of learning a lot, having this capacity of understanding that we are here learning with each other and from the world, not only in conscientiology, but we have a lot to learn from the external world. I'm talking about the external world, but there's another variable which will be understanding my micro-universe, my self-research, this area in which I perceive myself in which thing I am more open, which things I need to close, I need to define the limits. For example, the mechanism I use to defend myself against the things on our day by day, we defend, or I defend myself against some sort of subjects. I wrote 4 items, and let's see what people talk, and then I'm going to read in the future. I think it's essential being open. You might consider yourself open. The interactions, so you can expand your universe. And from there, you are going to have more cosmovision. What I thought was like that. We came from the intermissive course with many vaccinations. I recall I crossed many lines of knowledge since Spiritism, Rosa Cross, Christianism, Mason, and there is a vaccination for you not to be fixed in that process. It's something in which you go, you check, but you don't fix on what is not your priority, or perhaps something that is a little bit old that stayed in the past. So you are going to check the new, but you also have on your backstage a process that will kind of control yourself. So it's a kind of neophilia with a sketch of Cosmoview, in a sense of knowing it's not that. Perhaps there is something more complex. That's nice. So far I wrote 5 items. I was checking here, there is a part in which Instructor Vieira mentions something related with introphysiology, that the cosmovision starts with certain age. So this shows that we are being born, but we are kind of restricted to some concepts, to some new perceptions of the world. So this restriction happens when we are born. And then you ask how you can perceive someone that has a cosmoview. How you see a persona that associate neophilia with cosmovision. I see that starts here. Start young, but in our old age, or during adulthood, will pop out as a prerequisite of cosmovision. So the neophilia would be a requisite, a basic requisite to achieve cosmovision. I see that one of the traits that you are going to observe is seeing if the person has a neophilian, because we have it on the other side, we have the tendency of being accommodated, being conservative, being with what is easier, with what we are used to. So as long as I think we can qualify ourselves, even the science innovates. So bringing new ideas doesn't mean that we are going to destroy old ideas. On the contrary, you are specifying anything, something. So this is a movement that is neophilic. Of course, we might be mistaken or we might create some mistakes, but we are not talking about this. So the open mind towards the world, in which we are trying to get the best out of it every time. We see that in the day-by-day manifestation. For example, I was talking with Gustavo. You are in one institution. There is a precedence you are used to do. Sometimes that 10 years ago was great, but today is not necessary. Today we can do something better. And there is this kind, sometimes we might find some tendency of doing and repeating the same. I think this is not a problem. This belongs to the human nature. But this is nice, no? When we advanced, the new might generate problems, of course, because when something is new, you pop out from this comfort zone. But I say that the path for you to achieve this cosmoview is you will be all the time in this movement, acting in different way, checking the world with a different way, writing in the contrary, writing backwards. So all that starts us to see the world with a different perspective. I'm going to give the microphone to JP and Liliana, but it's interesting to debate this subject. Sometimes we have this idea that we have a lot of neophilia in conscientiology. I do think we have some level, but I think that our level of neophilia in cosmovision needs to qualify. Defending the neoverpon, neo-knowledge, neo-synapse, in order for us not to repeat. If we are going to repeat what Instructor Vieira produced and wrote, our level of neophilia in cosmovision is really, really low. So those who are more bold, they need to do that, to build new things. I think it's important to have that. Yes, I think it's important. Sometimes I talked about this because I think that ICCC has some grade of neophilia, especially in the intellectual part, bigger than what we have in the Interphysical Society. This is great. It's a positive point. Nevertheless, we have some things that they kind of stop. And if you try to change, or if you bring a new proposal, sometimes people don't want. Instructor Vieira create like that, the author did like that. And then we think so. And then on the other extreme, on the other side, we have people from the arts. They bring a lot of ideas, and that's perhaps is kind of the excess of new might create superficiality. So for me, this part of neophilia, it's connected with the intellectuality, a normal intellectuality. So normal intellect. Why? Because whenever we assume that something can be qualified, that it's not only because it's new, but that new needs to bring some evolutionary advantage that could grow or might grow. I give one example here. In the psychoanalysis, Freud were very rigid, and he did not accept if someone touched his things. What happened after he died? People that are using psychoanalysis, they are really radical. I don't think that psychoanalysis needs to be radical. I have a few criticisms, but there are things that are kind of limited. Perhaps back then we had more science than what we have today. I'm sorry about the psychoanalysis, so people who deal with that. But in a few points, I think we might consider analyzing in the ICCC points that we are being too tradition, that points that we are kind of repeating and being too traditional on that. Someone publicates an article and the others, and sometimes somebody else public one article going against. So science is it's going good. But when you have one article and someone giving you feedback, this is great. I think this sort of neophilia is intelligent.
Yeah, I'd like to bring a new perspective related to the seriology in regards to the neophilia. It is something that we have been working on several previous lives. I believe when the young intermissivists, uh, I have the advantage to be closer to the extrophysic, the innate idea, so it's more related, more connected to that. On the other hand, the people with more experience, not older people with more experience, have more difficult. There is a higher risk to accommodate. So there is some conflicts in that view. So the cosmovision, the Neophilia-Cosmovision, think about philosophy to be a more open mind, other possibilities, or the types of answers. And those are the things like conscientiology brings another view. So what am I doing here? What is my mission here? So those are questions that and answers that I couldn't find before with the other lines of thoughts. The cosmovision, it's increase, expands, and is getting to adapt to it, but it is something that related to the seriology. It's something that you've been experiencing from other lives. If we are starting to compare other intermissivists from other lives, and obviously we are going to be a higher percentage of neophilia and cosmovision. Our brain working with those new thoughts or neo thoughts, it's really to do this more and more in our context. So, and hopefully the percentage of to be have an open mind in it's going to increase among the population. Maybe we are going to see the points or what it is not allowing people, other people to understand or have less aversity of the new thoughts or new line of thoughts. 2 points in relationship to the openness. Yeah, everybody in the conscientiology will say that there is the abertism, the openness. I think about the openness metria, which it is maybe how to map, the openness of people. So Yeah, so it's to start to think about new concepts. Yeah, the book that was mentioned at the beginning, it is one that help us to understand the fear some people have about new lines of thought. In regards to the science, I have been studying a researcher since the pandemic. I've been doing this. She wrote a book, and the book, the title is something about the foolishness of things. And some psychologists is believe in that, others not. And she brings actually some of the aspects that we discuss in the conscientiology, which it is the bioenergies. And in this work that she was connecting with these other thoughts, it's kind of anchoring those new thoughts with the older philosophies or researchers. In her book, she actually attacks a little bit the established science that I have. So she has this openness to new sciences. It's actually it's actually the opposite. So she was actually defending the status quo in terms of the science, the established sciences. Yeah, we can link to what you're talking with what it is from a practical point of view and the cosmovision, and there could be shades, right? Gradients of colors, like shades of gray, for example. From energetic may not have there are different levels for those different interaction expressions or even the new forms. It's a very different vision of this process as well. Yeah, what it is a positive neophilia uh, as well. So we have about 40 years of conscientiology. We have enough material and knowledge to analyze this. We have a buffer to understand, to take a step back and analyze the situation. Very interesting. I'm gonna pass to Marcelo. So let me highlight the variables that you guys brought up here. So there's interaction with the cosmovision neophilia. When the person has this more, it's more open, more flexibility, a positive posture, be interested in new lines of thoughts. It's more an expansion view from the micro universe to some new ideas, or understand that maybe by be repeating things that used to be doing for even several lives as well. The person is interested in new things, looks for new thoughts, new research, new information. Some people realize this is an opportunity that for a change, and look to his or her history in openness to make changes. So, but someone says to you, so you haven't changed anything. Is it when the person says this to you, is it a good thing or a bad thing? So it is important to have this openness. So moving from the status quo and question yourself, and people have this discernment to 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 promote this neophilia, right? To be open to new ideas, the cosmovision. Yeah, I wrote something. Take risks, but calculated risks. Yeah, Max brought this up in terms of you're going the direction of the new, but you think there is a risk, an intrinsic risk about that. But if you don't take risks, there is nothing new that's going to come up. It is important to have this openness and maybe able to recover those ideas, the neophilia, the cosmovision that's coming from a growing perspective. Would like to add a new variable. So there's several possibilities that came into my mind here. I'm going to talk about the situation, then the characteristics. So we are human beings in general, we have our instincts, the preservation instincts. What happens? So something that's new or something different, the tendency, is it to question yourself, is it really safe? The first reaction, the instinct, whatever it is new or different from the reality that we have, we tend to think there's a negative and to see as perceive as riskier. My point is the instincts are the opposite or contrary to the neophilia. One of the characters we should have, it is anti-instinct, something that goes against your instincts to the self-preservation, for example, against the new or towards the neophilia. Is to fight or to tune down our instincts. Yeah, someone is talking about be more rational. Yeah, I agree this, but if you fight a little bit those initial reactions, maybe you are given an opportunity for those new thoughts, which the word that comes in is respect. If you go to the etymology of the words, look at it again as if it was the first time. And then this is an opportunity to have maybe a different perspective from what you've thought before about it. So you can develop the neophilia, for example, based on the respect. And another point that I want to bring up is the cosmoethics. It's a consequence or effect of this interaction, the Neophilian cosmovision. When you have the Neophilian cosmovision, you see the situation in a different way. Therefore, the way you're going to approach that situation, you need to change yourself first to a more cosmoethic vision of this situation. The cosmoethic, it's not an intrinsic characteristic, but an effect, a result of it. You need to have adjustments, expansion of cosmoethic, so to have an Neophilian cosmovision. So use your thoughts for that. That's the condition that one thing leads to the other and vice versa. The cosmoethics helps or contribute to the neophilia and then vice versa. It's a positive cycle and accelerate this process. So Virginia do you have more variables? That's something that reminded me. and you will adapt with the situations, the new situation. The different cultures also help to develop this. I am, for example, in my case, I'm an immigrant. As being here in Brazil, I was exposed to a new culture. I have to adapt, and the interactions and assimilation. So I I have this capability of to assimilate the new culture and to help to improve even my culture and mix up those two different cultures. It helped me to have an Neophilia, so I was able to learn new things, to have a different posture, new food, and in intellectuality. The way I write in Portuguese is different from the way I write in English or in Spanish. It's a very important variable as well. Speaking different languages help you in this context. Yeah, I'm gonna build on that, which it is based on that. Yes, yeah, you're gonna add and also answer a question. What is the role of speaking several languages and the relationship with neophilia? Expanding what Virginia just said, and the adaptability, and the more exposed you have to different cultures and different languages, and when you learn the languages, it's not only theoretical. Oh, don't you want to be fluent? The more exposure you have to other languages, other cultures, the more you're gonna open. You'll be more the more neophilia and the multiculturalism and speaking several languages. It's very important in terms of expanding our cosmovision. So in the speaking several languages, you exercise your brain in a different way. So when you just speak one language, it is the same. The one that you were born, you expose just to one that language. And the other thing it is, you're talking about, you push yourself, you push your brain different directions. It's an exercise because the language also reflects a new way of thinking. In this exercise, the mental exercise, it is important. Yeah, universalism as well. To think about a different way, it represents a new direction, a direction to the cosmovision. In the same line of thought, there is the same thought in terms of different cultures, more other languages. It's another way to express the neophilia. I was talking about the capability of speaking several languages. The neophilia, it's a some type of a posture, an approach that one can have. Could be the neophilia. It can challenge yourself. It's kind of you know. You got so we speak in different languages. There is a culture aspect behind it. There is also the energies related to that, the other lives. So there was an experience that I had that other people were invited in on a dynamic, and I didn't like to speak Spanish, but in English I didn't have that resistance. So we were in in the lab doing the dynamic and discussing about speaking several languages. For me, it became very clear. It says something clicked in my brain. Yeah, so the word that came to mind was resistance. I'm not exaggerating. So the neophilia also related to it's important to be open, but maybe there was something related to past lives with that language, with that culture, that could be positive or negative. The universalism will be losing that as an opportunity because he can do the assimilation. There is a conscientiotherapy technique that's for this process, the neophilia process. Get out of the comfort zone. Chris, and then we're going to open up for Neil de Fera. And Marcelo will bring some question.
I want to go back to this polyglotism issue. I was thinking that I was thinking about this centripede character in which the consciousness places himself or herself in a neutral position. So we see this in the page number 2, when it talks about openology. He's talking about the interassistential distribution. Another approach that we can do is this centripede movement from the consciousness towards the cosmos. Of course, the more languages and cultures the consciousness will have, more the distribution will be able to do, the distribution of the assistance will be able to do towards other consciousness. So the openness, not in the sense of being receiving something, but also in order to be able to donate the new, using this interassistential movement, this dynamic. So what is this assistential distribution towards humanity? So we have the languages, the polyglotism. Sometimes someone will do this movement. We can also think about the penta. I think it's a humanity distribution, the writing, everything you publicate, the distribution of humanity. Those who are able to compound all the elements in this line, perhaps you will acquire a more amplified interaction. Others will be in the teaching area, other in the penta, other in the writing area. If you have the 3 cases, you are going to have more interaction. We have to see. So I am here or in 2 or in 3 areas. Do you have the microphone? May I propose a question? And then you can go ahead and answer the question, okay? and then we give the online voice. So the first question is correlated to the page 3, related with pre-cosmovision. The question is how we can optimize our cosmovision with high-level self and heterocritics, being able to be more accurate or develop more accuracy, the reality that we scratched in our day by day. I can answer with another question. I think is the process of the being exhaustive in terms of reflection. So it's like being there. Is this correct? Should I be studying more? Should I be reflecting more about this? Not being content with a few actions. What I want to bring here is in the talking about the lexicon, there has a pensata that people that are difficult to help are people who have good intention, but nevertheless they see just the facts there. Because of that, I started to analyze my life, the phases of my life, as a reference. So when I was 10 years old, I had a few ideas, and today, comparing all my life, I can see that I perceive myself that I developed this sort of vaccination. But I think it's important, this groupality, this openness towards groupality. Many people, whenever you address someone, whenever you talk with someone, you are being biased. You are seeing one side. Somebody else will be bringing another side. So then you can add the information. So whenever you connect the idea of one person, another, a third one, you are going to collect all the ideas and connect the ideas, and then you will be able to expand. You will be able to acquire those fragmentations of perhaps one entire process. Yeah, but because if we see beyond, we see more variables. We are going to have a bigger cosmoview, and as a consequence, our neophilia will be bigger. So I remind the time in which we started to practice a dynamic inside the complementarium. Today is very common. People go there, they do dynamic, 1 or 2. Back then, many people used to say, no, it will be very difficult. People will not be participating in a complementarium. That was a difficult of cosmoview, because you don't want to be part of the new, because you cannot see what is beyond. So I remember people saying we might have only one auditorium here in conscientiocentric community. And today we have many auditoriums. Only Valdo wrote verbetes. And then I remember when we jumped from Valdo towards somebody else. And today we have more than 1,000 people who writes verbetes. So we could be creating lists and lists in showing that we had a way of thinking with a very short cosmoview. And then we blocked a neophilia process. So we lose time because of that. So it's interesting to analyze how important this is. So I want to go back to the polyglotism, talking about the distribution. I want to say that on the August 15, we are going to start with the International Week. We'll have the Meet the Authors, and we'll be launching books in 7 languages for the first time. On the other hand, ICCC created a program that is a program to stimulate writing text in conscientiology in many languages, not only in Portuguese. So people can write conscientiology on their own languages and in English, then also English, because English take care of many people. Last year I was part of that, so I have a little bit of neophilia. So all the videos would be in English, online, and free. And this is to set example. And we are publishing our first book in English. Virginia wrote a book in Spanish. And then we are going to translate to Portuguese in order to stimulate that. See, we have the polyglotism. We do penta. If you have the books in different language, that is great. That characterize this distribution, this interassistention distribution towards humanity. I think this is the path. Maybe talk a little bit about the International Week. We are going to start on August 15th. The International Week. We are going to do the launching of the week on Friday morning with people with many countries. Everybody is invited, 9 o'clock. It will be in Rea Prudentia. After, we are going to have many activities, an introductory lecture. In the afternoon, we are going to launch the articles in journal. We have the International Journal Conscientiology from ICCC together with CEAEC. And at 4 p.m. we have Meet the Authors. And then we're going to have the first campus field. Will be in English. We have a few vacancies, but if you are still interested, get in touch with us. www.iscic.org. Here is the contact. And during the week, we are going to have more activities online. And in the next week, we are going to have the Complementarium 23 and 24. We are going to have Cristina Aracaki, Rui Bueno. And for this weekend, we have other epicons, Roberto and Luciana. So the week is very interesting. I invite you, we have the pre-event, we have fielding course, the complementarium will be also in English, but there are people in different languages. So we speak in English, Spanish, Portuguese, so do not close the door. And we are very open for those who want to understand more the Holocene, the international Holocene. And then I'm going to launch my book We have a month of activities. 16 conscientiocentric institution and 5 invisible college we are going to have for this, for us to show what is conscientiology from the international point of view. We wait more authors from this group of ICCC, from the international group. I think this will give the straight. I'm going to take the chance that Chris has the microphone, and I'm going to propose a question. How is the radication, the Cognopolis radication, how this interfere in this interaction Neophilia-Cosmovision? No, now I want to know those who are here in Cognopolis or in the other Cognopolis, how this interfere in this interaction. So when you talked about the example you mentioned, let's do the dynamic in a complementarium. Let's create one auditorium, and then I think this is a movement. This is a neophilic movement, perhaps trying to understand, and if it exists, the common points that when arrive something new, either personal or group, we block. We might consider if there are common points between personal and individual and group proposal. What are the fundamentals? What are the bases that block ourselves from at least being more open and question new proposals without saying no immediately? We are afraid of what? Good question. So if the neophilia, the openness, the cosmoview are interconnected with a few cosmoethical boldness, is there something that blocked ourselves from analyzing the question? I think this is interesting and might be also a practice that indicates a neo posture, as opposed of saying no, or I can't do, or it's not possible. We might consider, well, let me stop, listen, and think why I am saying no. Starting from your question, being in Cognopolis, I think that one of the big opportunities are the possibility of us facing more opportunities and analyze your self-beliefs and analyzing from the self-research investigation, how are the neophilias from the group? And the Cognopolis environment is very interesting for us to overcome those difficulties. The idea is that we are more immersed in a more theatric experience. I think that in Cognopolis, it's interesting, even from the professional work with the rest of the community. But I think being immersed in a specific holotocene, we start to think different, and with that, overcoming those fears or those blockers, perhaps related with the issue of power. We can't, because this is my land, my goal, my territory. something that go against more power or more area of domain. It might be interesting listing those barriers, and we might consider listing all the barriers, even in all the different fields, parapsychism, or in my area, how I am. So if we had some sort of resistance, what happened? Perhaps inside the council, the conscientiocentric council. Because sometimes we think we have a high level of neophilia, but in the practice, we are going to have some fear and block in some way. So let's do a test. Let's see. So if I am afraid of doing some sort of test, the neophilia is following down. Another question that I was thinking is, which role studying the mistakes which are the role of studying mistakes in my life? So may I be able to study things I did that were wrong in the past?
We don't know what's going on. We are gonna lose. Yeah, there is something that it is working. Yeah, everything is working well. Let's give it a try. Let's analyze this. Let's assess this. It could be a group of carmality as well. And so we need to understand when the rationality, it is justifying the fear. Everything it is saying for not to do it. There is a list of things why not to do it. But let's see the parapsychism. Is there a way to do this? The helpers are supporting this. So everybody working together, not going against it. So if even everything goes against it, so as Marcel said, the instincts kick in. It's not only the survival instinct, but the fact that it is already working. So, but everybody work together to do something better. Yeah, I think the fear is to lose control. Yeah, I would like to add to that. So this is a key word, the word fear. The neophilia. I participate in very debates about this in communication. There isn't a way to, today in communication field, so you have to have neophilia. in the rationality, it's interesting. We feel the energy fields and that's going against it. There is this new generation of intermissivists that are help to implement the new science. It's natural to have fear. It's what we should expect, but also we should, have the openness, the neophilia to during this process to have more neophilia. There is a there is a little bit of a radicalism as well. There is a tendency of a pessimism. It's being skeptic in terms of skeptical. Something it's gonna not work. It's when they're inserted in this environment. So that was so in this communication area, that era we are in. So we got together and we were talking about in terms this necessity of neophilia, and think about new ways to communicate, about conscientiology, and think about the principles of conscientiology. We went to we interviewed the specialists in the communication, and then we connected with the principles of conscientiology are related to conscientiology and communication, and then bring this to neophilia. Some heterodox ideas. We wanted a space, a paper for the debate, and not only about our feelings, our emotions. Yeah, there is a lot of people that with a microphone that will want to talk. So let's go to Luis now. There is some nuances in the neophilia. Yeah, so we're maybe losing a few opportunities here. There is a neophilia, distributive neophilia. There is like it's a principle that refute something that it's going to bring a more complex idea. You can question existing, even the new ideas, and propose new, more complex ideas. It is easier to do it, but even the community, how many intermissivists here in our community that read all the books that Professor Instructor Waldo wrote? Let's come up with a new principle. But have you read all the books, all the treatises from Waldo? So you can now propose a new thing and go against of the ideas brought up by him. Don't be perfectionist, but it missing for the person to have this neophilia approach needs to take ownership of and go back to your first question in terms of the fixation of the establishment of cognopolis. There is a lot of criticism, so we need to build, in other places. But new ideas of expansion could be just a shallow. And eventually it is something that the same of what it is already in there. So it's missing that going deep in this. So we need to go deeper on a medium middle term, we can expand. I'm gonna talk like about physics. That's something that I study more. Isaac Newton published his principles, and then only Einstein was able to refute some of his ideas. So, but it's 300 years. There is, the industrialization revolution. So that 300 years later, someone that disrupted those views. So Waldo proposed lots of things. It's all about new books, new publications. I think it's missing. If I were give a diagnostic, it's just, what I believe it's missing in the community is neophilia. It's this background, this mental somatic strength to support that. Yeah, there is a question in the chat exactly about this. So everything that Luis said, Eduardo had asked a similar question. In regards to the last paragraph of page 2, the person wants to debate, understand, and understand the new. Even there's several volunteers, it is usually the same people that debate, and they discuss the new themes. How can we make it expand this? That people that are being passive, and they turn them into more active participants. I think it's taking responsibility. We are agent of a change, so we all of us can contribute. It's also related to the internalization. So it doesn't matter where you are, but there is a new idea, something that makes change the way you think, and hasn't been figured out yet. The cognopolis, it's a very optimized place. It doesn't matter that limit the number of people that can contribute, even from around the world. It can be, we can make this better, but it goes back to this, to have fear, something that comes from outside. This one aspect that I studied this, the internationalization. It's related to what it is different, what it is strange, something that comes from outside. It's gonna help, it's gonna not help, or put it at risk. Maybe unconsciously, some people that speak of other language has an accent when they speak. It's been studied from the communication field. The person it's less valuable, because sometimes the person starts speaking another language with an accent. There is a preconceived idea that the person has less value because of the accent, and then you trust less. There's some studies that they tested this, and qualitative research it showed up. What is my approach when someone from outside that's not Brazilian, but it speaks about speaking about something or proposing a new idea, what is the level of neophilia that I have towards that person? Sometimes you have a problem with the Spanish or in English. You don't take into account, or in Italian or in Arabic as well. To break out from this, to overcome and become more open to new people with different cultures. That's really the challenge that we have. So if you think about it, the internet helped a lot of the expansion of Neophilian cosmovision as well. And I noticed that a long time ago, so movies had just one type of accent, like Hollywood style. With all those different streams, you watch very different movies. They make sure there's like, the original way of speaking, the original accent. Oh, from Australia or New Zealand. This is from another English speaking country. This also helps from a practical point of view to break out from this problem of the preconceived ideas, the way the person speaks. I would like to speak exactly about this point. The person thinks about the evidence the person has in his or her mind. It's an interaction, Neophilia and cosmovision. If you think about Aristotle's logic, it hasn't been refuted. It's one of the few theories out there that nobody has challenged or added something new to that. And why I believe this happened? Because the logic helps us to understand the way we think. If my thoughts, based on only my constructions, then that's the problem. And how I'm going to think from the other person's perspective, take into account those different elements. And that's the problem, right? That you have to have this openness. So it's a bias view. We are just coming to a conclusion based on the evidences that we have. I didn't like, for my case, I didn't like to speak Spanish, but I didn't think that could be an extra physical process, something from a previous life. But if you stop and think about why there's this discomfort of facing this, it's important to understand what it is behind this. Is this logic? Is there some extra physical influences in there? Is this only looking from my perspective for that, my evidence, my own bias? Can I try to think what they are thinking, what the way they're thinking? Put a pause in the way you're thinking. We come to conclusions far away, and you even stop listening to the person. That's the core of the problem, the core problem. Yeah, so there is this opportunity, the new people, new cultures, to bring more to conscientiology from other countries. There is intermissivism all around the world. The contribution that in different levels, different countries, different cultures, different people, it's the natural evolution. One of the things that I see it's more important when there is relation between Brazilians and other cultures. Every culture has its own characteristics, and And then when you connect that culture, you started to learn this, and even some of the not good traits that we bring in. And when the person from outside comes and sees those things that they don't work well, gives the opportunity having the relationship with from different cultures, the different people, they look at us and see, they think that's weird, some stuff that we do. They see us made malleable, and we perceive foreigners as too hard, not flexible. And maybe there is a middle ground to achieve, something that I wanna bring up just for us to think in terms of neophilia. Sometimes we connect the neophilia with a theoretical process, and there is now those different uh, corps of conscientiology, and all those different ideas, and some people bring the same idea with a new name they found more interesting. But what it is more important is experimental neophilia. I think that's the most important point. If we got the different bodies of consciential and understand the experimental neophilia, it is lower than the understanding do que a conscientiology is. This is natural that there is this gap. But I understand that if we start to increase our experimental neophilia, then our cosmovision will increase. It's not only the theoretical point; it has to be from a theory as well. It's inevitably experimental. So until you didn't have that experience, you didn't really understand what happened. You thought you understood it, but only after the experience you feel it. And there is another point. It is the radicalism of the radicalism theory, the megalomanism. You don't need to leave your home. It's actually better if you are in a place, in a cognopolis, in a place that you've been in for a long time. Then you go outside your body and have the extraphysical experiences every time, anytime. One of the characteristics of this. Mechadelmodism, it's more than the international trips. Yeah, I believe international trips, it is fundamental. But there is the experimentation. But you need to have that parapsychal experimentation and leave those different concepts and verpons to reach that level of experimentation. Then you're going to have a different level of cosmovision.
One observation I want to do now. We are talking more about neophilia than cosmovision. Perhaps this subject is more interconnected with us. What I was establishing this correlationship is, I think this interaction, I think this is something quite fundamental. One thing really potentializes another. No, so this neophilia and cosmovision, and I want to bring a third pillar or a third element, which is the openness, as we have here in page number 2 in the Dictionary of Conscientiology Arguments, because the neophilia, we have a positive bias towards positive. And the cosmovision, it seems something more towards positivity or towards a positive line. But not necessary is something that is 100% positive or bring a total pleasure, because whenever you develop this cosmovision, you amplify the sense of reality, because you start to see your things in your positive, with the positive traits, but also with negative traits. But of course, I think amplifying the cosmovision is amplifying your reality, your personal reality. It is truth. What Max just mentioned is the need of us creating more experimental opportunities. If we only think about cosmovision without experiencing, it seems like we are acquiring realities, just checking, just looking without the experience. And so let's say if everybody here popped inside a specific house or a different house, someone will check the architecture, another will check the people who are living, another will check the painting, and there is a person that will not look much. Whenever you pop out of the house, someone will tell you, do you remember how beautiful it was, the floor? And then you kind of say, but I do not remember. I didn't even check the floor. So this is the Cosmoview. When you start to have a different interaction, a bigger interaction, bigger than what we used to. Of course, there are things that are good and there are things that are not good. So we are amplifying the boundaries of our reality, and that might give us a bigger sense of reality. So the aspect that you will not check before, and you out of nothing you develop this willingness of perceiving the bad stuff. So the Cosmoview will make you to pay attention up to details that you give not any value before. With the Cosmoview, you start to check, to see, to perceive what usually people do not see. So the reality level tends to amplify, your threshold level amplifies. This is interesting because it summarizes many points we debated here. One of the issues is when you talked about something that is disruptible. We are in a phase in which the neophilia is a base of the consciential paradigm, crossing up to many lives. No, we've been up to in the informative course, and now we are here in this intraphysical dimension. And we ought to apply, or we have the opportunity or the possibility to apply those principles, those pillars that we study in the intermissive course. And we are in this level of studying, applying, and the applicability of the consciential paradigm. I don't think this is a kind of a barrier that will block us. I don't think there is a blocker. But this base will kind of opens or offer the opportunity to us to develop more and more. So I'm going to give the microphone to Reinalda, but first, good morning for you, which is the good morning in your language. Good morning, alles good? Now it's better. Great. So good morning, buenos dias. Beyond everything we taught, I think I can see back up to 1985, our community, comparing with 1985 with up to today, I think in our community we are increasing and amplifying a lot. Our motivation were always the science of studying consciousness. We being able to create a center, and it was in the beginning back then. While we were building, we had a big motivation, but always think about conscientiology. And it's interesting to see that whenever I talked with somebody that is just arriving, is completely different than when we arrive. Because people see everything ready. We had animals and trees only back then in 1985. And then little by little, we have a big motivation, which is instructor Valdo Vieira. But today, people arrive, everything is built. We have a group that is helping to clarify here and there, but it's completely different if we compare with the past. And it's interesting to observe this evolution. So I have here in the lexicon of orthopensatas, the sixth line from down to up. I don't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The hardest people to help are the well-intentioned ones when they see the facts by sectors getting it right, but only partially. Cosmoview is a vaccine. So, Reinaldo, towards this orthopensata, I think this is the partial view. It seems that that talks a lot about the what we debate before, because I see that Cosmoview is different. What you checking what you don't like, and this is the challenge. And then I was thinking about the role and the binomial admiration disagreement for us to implement this interaction Neophilia-Cosmovision, because from the moment in which we open, we give space, we offer space to listen, to observe, to create and to embrace this movement of comprehension, not exactly with things we agree, but offering and amplifying this movement of accepting. It's not about checking or looking for new information, but sometimes there are subjects that are more interconnected with us. Nevertheless, there are subjects that are completely disconnected, but we are addressing here the challenge of giving space for that. I want to come back in the Cognopolis condition, which being as a big opportunity for us to live with, to coexist with people that are so different, but also with people that are not as much different than us. And how this is rich, this laboratory, this opportunity of us coexist, interact, work as a volunteer as well with this diversity of ideas, but at the same time with a common ground, with something in common. I agree about this big Cognopolis opportunity. And I think doing new experimentation, creating new synapses, connecting the theory with practice. No? I think applying the conscientiological paradigm is a big challenge. I think if we talk about the conscientiological paradigm, we are talking about theory and practice together. So for us to assimilate it more, have a space for us to apply more experience, having an experimental space under the individual and the group point of view for us to place on practice the proposal of conscientiology. Perhaps we can't place on practice, We might consider the interplanetary measurement, but perhaps it's not for us. We don't know. So whenever we died, whenever we desomate, so we might check that idea, that word back then in the lexicon were not enough for us, or it was not like that. Something more needed to be acquired, and we were not able to pick that. So I see that the Cognopolis has this big role as being an excellent laboratory for us to test in the individual and group proposal, the ideas, the conscientiological ideas. I wanted to add one idea that Max brought. I think it's very interesting. Whenever you are developing your cosmovision, you have a level of openness that is related with multidimensionality. So this line of openness allows you to have different projections in different countries with different languages. So I visit countries with languages I never spoke. Nevertheless, you go there, you interact, you kind of assist without a block or frontier, and you assist. I think one of the interesting things are the 14 years, the first 14 years I experienced in London. In London, I were able to meet people from more than 70 different countries. And with that, you learn, of course, with the translation, doing revision of articles and books in various languages, but with this experience, giving classes online here and there, having this capacity of developing this openness, and also having this capacity of developing assistential projections, you learn how to work with different extra physical themes and with different evolutionaries, with different people, either in the intraphysical or in the extraphysical, from the evolutionary point of view. I am curious about Isaac with your activities, your translations, people who dealt with international. I want to see in the next years what will the effect of that, because we are talking about the neophilia from Brazil towards there. But we want to see the neophilia from the international towards Brazil, because we have books, we have material, and then what? We are going to see this neophilia here and there. No, the international people arriving more and more. I just want to add that there's someone that is arriving from Gaza area. It's we are launching a glossary from an Arabic conscientiology dictionary. He brought a book and he translated already. And he knows English and he's reading Arabic. So this is what brought him, no? So he's from Gaza Strip. And we are going to see those results more and more. Before giving to you, let me just address that. Let me just establish a marketing. So we are opening a school of consecutive personality in the afternoon from 2:30 up to 5. Starts on the August 28th. Ligia, Decker, Eduardo, they live out of Brazil, and they are João Paulo with João Paulo Weekly. It's going to be in Portuguese, but we are calm down. Let me see. It's already a schedule that is compatible with the groups that are outside. João Paulo has a work like Nemo Connected. I think this is a group movement. Let's start. So people that live in Germany coordinating that, this is great because they live there. I think it's great. I think it's a group construction experiencing this internationalization movement, but I think we might consider going all together. That's why we have collaboration and partnerships with all the conscientiocentric institutions. We give support, we stand by for, because this is a conjunction movement. It is a group movement. One of the things I want to highlight is we have more people. The international process interconnecting with languages and cultures, accessing different cultures are ways for you to acquire levels of consciential maturity. So I think that for those who want start the international volunteer, you can help a lot because due to working with different cultures, due to having contacts with different people and different languages, you expand your cosmoview and your neophilia. Those are the paths. So let's work beyond the boundaries. Finally, I'll try to do my best. You have 3 minutes. I want to help with Max and Chris talk about the experimental neophilia. I think it's very important because you can read the treatise, but you are going to apply that concept and that technique and work different from you because you have a different history. I had a few experimentations. For example, I wanna reach the moon, and then I popped out of my body and I went up to the moon. And then I did my calculations and I did 65% of the light speed. Because of the intraphysical, we diminish, but our properties as consciousness, they are bigger than what we think. And another experimentation I did that happened now last month, I always work curious about what will happen if I popped out of my body and do a strong vibrational state. And then I saw the energy popping out up. And then I had the alarm of my clock. I was out of the body listening the alarm, and that was quite of interesting. I had no repercussion, but after the entire day, I perceive after those experimentations, I was super serene. And then at night, I was able to participate in this group that study parapsychism, or a group that study the vibrational state. And then I was possible to perceive, talking about intermissive course, I remember I had different experiences. By the end, I want to say that whenever you have those pioneers projectors, Robert Monroe, Robert Moore, they had the curiosity of popping out of the body, do many tests, write down, and they used to publish. So the neophilia can help a lot our cosmoview. I think we are closing our debate now. And it's interesting because nobody talked about the curiosity, but the curiosity leads this neophilic movementation. And sometimes that result just generate a cosmoview. Let's see how you can give your information to humanity. What is next step?
Yeah, we reached our time here. So that's that date. 90 to 4 people, 36 access, 9 authors here. So thank you, everybody. So I wish we all increase our neophilia, and until to the next